Iran accuses Saudi-led coalition jets of bombing its embassy in Yemen's capital city, Sana'a. Scores of people are killed in an attack on a military training facility in western Libya. And China halts today's trading as shares plunge more than 7% and speeds up the devaluation of the yuan to its lowest level in 5 years as the S&P 500, Dow Jones, and Nasdaq's futures also go down. Good afternoon. We begin with breaking news from France. Police shot dead a man trying to storm a Paris police station today. That man was armed with a knife and was said to have been wearing a fake explosive belt. Now, according to French media, a bomb disposal unit was called to the station in the northern part of the city. They later confirmed that the vest contained no explosives. And the French Interior Ministry said the attacker did shout Allahu Akbar as he entered the premises. Meanwhile, Iran has accused Saudi-led coalition jets of dropping bombs on its embassy in Yemen's capital, Sana'a, causing damage, this according to state media. Sana'a residents reported dozens of airstrikes this morning by the coalition, which is battling the Iran-allied Houthi rebels. Meanwhile, Iran has banned the import of goods from Saudi Arabia after the kingdom cut diplomatic ties over attacks on its embassy in Tehran following the execution of a top Shiite cleric. And we move now to Libya, where, according to reports, up to 65 people were killed this morning when a truck bomb hit a military training center in the west of the country. The casualties included civilians, some of whom were evacuated to a local hospital. The bomb detonated in the center of the facility as hundreds of recruits were gathering there. Witnesses said residents were ferrying victims to Misrata hospitals and ambulances and cars, many with shrapnel wounds.
This morning, Thursday, we received a number of wounded from the police academy in Zliten. So far, we have received more than 40 wounded between moderate to serious to critical conditions. There are 4 martyrs and 6 cases in critical condition.
And returning now to France, 1 year after the anniversary of the shootings at satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo, French President François Hollande told police forces today the government is passing new laws and ramping up security, but the threat of terrorism remains high. He also called for better surveillance of radicalized citizens. Now, in 3 days of violence, 17 people were killed, including 3 policemen. This as at least 5 prominent British Islamists linked to the same extremist group as the man suspected of being the new jihadi John left the UK in the last 20 months, despite being subject to travel bans. Records show that the 5 men, 3 of whom have since been killed in airstrikes in Syria and Pakistan, all succeeded in evading exit checks. Given this new information, London will now be pressured to tighten monitoring of individuals known to be at risk of traveling to Syria. We were joined earlier by our correspondent in London, Jonathan Sacerdoti, with more regarding the expected response to the latest findings.
The most famous case at the moment is the man suspected of being the jihadi in the execution video released by Islamic State just a few days ago. The man with the British accent, Dar, who is 32 years old and is suspected of being that particular executioner. He escaped while he was on police bail by taking a coach to Paris and then moving into the rest of mainland Europe and then eventually into Syria. So the talk about how this can be redressed is not really profiling as such, but more rigorous police checks. These are people who should have been on no-fly lists, who should not have been able to leave the country with proper border controls upon exiting Britain. So really, without the need for any extra draconian measures, it's quite possible to tighten up the borders.
And we move now to Cairo, where gunmen have attacked a tourist bus near a hotel. No deaths or injuries were reported, and there are 2 Israeli tourists on the site. Now, Israel's foreign ministry has said that those 2 people have not been injured. And Egyptian security officials said that authorities are currently chasing 2 masked individuals who carried out the attack while riding on a motorcycle. And Israel's Justice Minister Ayelet Shaked is expected to meet the U.S. ambassador to Israel in coming days to discuss Washington's reservations over a new bill targeting foreign-funded NGOs. The so-called transparency bill requires NGOs who receive more than 50% of their funding from foreign governments to identify themselves as such in their publications. U.S. State Department spokesman John Kirby said yesterday that, quote, a free and functioning civil society is an essential element of a healthy democracy, end quote. Earlier, we were joined in studio by I-24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev to discuss the Israeli stance amid the growing U.S. concern and criticism.
We asked the Prime Minister's office if there's any change in plans regarding this bill. They directed us to the Justice Minister, Ayelet Shaked, who rejects the criticism. She published herself an op-ed in the American Jewish press earlier this week, claiming the bill doesn't prevent NGO activity and says that criticism of the law, and this is a quote, is part of the same foolish attempt to besmirch Israel's name. Ayelet Shaked also continues to stand by her comparison between the Israeli bill and the Foreign Agents Registration Act, even though the American bill, unlike the Israeli law, isn't limited to foreign governments, but to foreign interests at whole.
And in finance news, China halted the day's trading 30 minutes after opening on Thursday morning as shares plunged by more than 7%, triggering an automatic circuit breaker and eventually halting trade for the day. China also surprised markets today by speeding up the devaluation of the yuan, setting the official midpoint rate at 6.56 yuan per dollar, the lowest since March 2011. And on a global scale, the S&P 500 and Dow Jones futures are down about 2.5%, while NASDAQ futures are down 3.3%.
China is important for the world economy, definitely. And right now we see that China is losing momentum. That's especially negative for Germany, imports to China. But I'm sure China, by its new 5-year plan, will turn the corner for the better. We'll see more volatility in Chinese economic things, but we are facing the new 5-year plan for China. We will see a firework of massive fiscal and monetary policy actions, and thereby China will gain momentum once again.
And I24 News reporter Maya Margit has more on the Chinese decision to halt trade.
Chinese markets have suspended trading for the second time this week. This after shares fell more than 7% on Thursday. The weakening yuan currency value has led to an Asia-wide sell-off amid growing fears about China, the world's #2 economy and a key driver of global growth. This week's losses mark one of the worst starts to a trading year in decades, in what some are saying is a perfect storm of weak global growth combined with a slump in oil prices. The People's Bank of China again surprised markets by setting the official midpoint rate at 6.564 per dollar, its lowest since March 2011. That was 0.5% weaker than the day before, and the biggest daily drop since last August, when an abrupt near 2% devaluation of the currency also roiled markets, wiping trillions of dollars off valuations. The carnage in China has seeped through to global markets this week, and Asian trading floors continue to see red. The Australian dollar fell half a US cent in a blink on Thursday. Shanghai stocks meanwhile slid 7.3%, a repeat performance of Monday's sudden tumble. European shares have fallen sharply as well.
And in entertainment news, as Hollywood's inner industry circles prepare to hand out their awards, the People's Choice Awards held their own Democratic Awards in downtown LA last night. The People's Choice Awards honored music, television, and film, with winners including Meghan Trainor for Favorite Album, Sandra Bullock for Favorite Movie Actress, and Johnny Depp for Favorite Movie Actor. Actor Vin Diesel picked up the award for Favorite Movie for Furious 7, while Dakota Johnson won the Favorite Award for Dramatic Movie Actress for her role in 50 Shades of Grey. Following the receipt of the award, actor Johnny Depp had the following response.
I'm considerably blown away by this because it comes from the people, once again, the people who are the people who give us the jobs, who keep us employed, and I'm happy to be employed.
And staying on the film beat, blockbuster movie Star Wars The Force Awakens passed Avatar on Wednesday, becoming the top-selling film of all time in the United States and Canada. The Force Awakens has taken in $1.5 billion so far globally and is already the 4th highest grossing movie of all time after just 3 weeks in release. Now, to beat the global record haul of $2.8 billion for Avatar, The Force Awakens must play well in China, where it opens on Saturday. And these were the latest headlines. Join us again in 20 minutes' time for the latest breaking news. Thank you for watching.